Greetings, my dears, in love and light. I'm Nikki Sutton. The Hermetic principle of rhythm. Everything flows out and in. Everything has its tides. All things rise and fall. The pendulum swing manifests in everything. The measure of the swing to the right is the measure of the swing to the left. Rhythm compensates. The Kabbalion. So let's take the first part of that quote and see if we can draw some meaning from it and how it applies to us as well. So everything flows out and in, everything has its tides, all things rise and fall, the pendulum swing manifests in everything. So what does this mean? It's talking about the nature of our reality, how everything occurs on a rhythmic cycle, how things tend to repeat themselves. It's a bit like reality is based on an algorithm. If you imagine that we are living in one infinite being, which is, you could call God perhaps, and it's information based, we perceive it as being energetic, of course, because atoms are comprised of energy, aren't they? Particles of energy. But scientists believe, many do anyway, that it's an information-based reality, a bit like a simulation or a program. Now, if reality is based on some kind of super advanced program, highly, infinitely intelligent, more like a living being that we can't even comprehend, if this is so, then it might have rhythms going on. And many believe that the purpose, or one of the purposes of life, of incarnations, is to learn and experience for the purpose of ascension, so that our consciousness can evolve and grow. Therefore, if reality, an information-based reality, was based on rhythms of things repeating over and over again but with slight differences, then this creation, this one infinite being, this infinite program, would get to know outcomes of every possibility. So if things repeated like a civilization rises and then it falls, and then another one rises and then it falls, creation, this one infinite being, would get to know what happens each time with minor variations or larger variations. So many believe that this one infinite being, everything being energetic, everything being made up of atoms and empty space, all is energy, even the empty space is believed to be energy, that we are all part of this one being. We all share its energy. So us all being points of consciousness within this one infinite creator or God or source or being or program, within this one infinite being, we all are part of it, each of us, plus everything you see around us, every object, every plant, every animal, every rock, everything is all part of this one being, all sharing the same information. Then it makes sense, the principle of rhythm, the Hermetic principle of rhythm, that things repeat in rhythmic cycles as the program repeats itself for its own learning and experience. So creation, the one infinite being, is likely experiencing itself through each of us. It's experiencing itself because it is everything. So it plays these cycles over and over again. It's all about cycles too, you see. Plus, our reality has laws, and things happen the way they're supposed to happen. So tides flow out and in. They wouldn't flow out and in and then vanish for a bit and then come back and then fly away and then come back and then dematerialize and never come back. Things exist according to laws which repeat themselves because those are the laws. That's the way it is. So because there's laws, for example, Newtonian laws, which are the symptoms of our reality, the way our reality manifests itself in physical form, and because there's laws and because the creation is running these rhythms and cycles over and over again to see what every variation is like, that is why it says the pendulum swing manifests in everything. The repetition, the rhythms, the cycles manifest in everything. So it says that these pendulum swings, these rhythms, occur between two poles which exist in accordance with the principle of polarity. So please see my previous video on the Hermetic principle of polarity, because this is quite related to the principle of rhythm. In fact, all the Hermetic principles are kind of interwoven and interlinked, because the principle of rhythm, it tends to swing between the two poles. For example, a person's mood, they might be quite happy, but inevitably they might become quite sad, and the measure of the swing in one direction is the measure of the swing in the other direction. So if you become very happy, it's possible you'll become very sad at some point. It might be in the near future, it might be in the more distant future, or maybe in the past, but the swing there is sort of equal. So if you're becoming a little bit sad, you might become a little bit happy. So that's what it's saying, that the swings are kind of a measure of each other. So someone's mood tends to swing rhythmically between two poles. And the same with other rhythms in our reality. For example, day and night, and hot and cold, and summer and winter, things like that. The swinging between the dual poles. So how can we bring that bit into our reality? Well, a good thing to do is kind of to release resistance, because it seems to be a law of our reality then that things happen rhythmically, and these rhythms occur like our moods and things like that, and things that occur in reality. Something good will happen, something more negative will happen, and opposites seem to keep happening if you observe things as you go through life. So the key is to release resistance, because this kind of thing tends to happen as it's a law of our reality. And if we're constantly resisting what's going on all the time, saying no, no, no to everything and fighting against everything, if we have more acceptance, which is the opposite of resistance, acceptance, and work from a place of yes rather than a place of no, releasing resistance means that we can work with our reality better and manifest better. All the time we're putting up resistance, that's negative emotion, and we're manifesting more negatively. If we accept these rhythms in reality, these variations that happen, then we can work with them more seamlessly. This law is manifest in the creation and destruction of worlds, the rise and fall of nations, in the life of all things, and finally in the mental states of man. So some examples of rhythms are: you are born and it swings to death eventually, day and night, inaction and reaction. Fashions tend to swing backwards and forwards, governments rise and fall, nations rise and fall, as I said, poor and rich. You can swing between poor and rich. So, for example, if you spent one part of your life poor, there's absolutely no reason that, due to the principle of rhythm here, that you couldn't spend the rest of your life rich. It just depends on what blockers you're putting up towards that and whether it will manifest for you. Maybe see my video on money blockers and how to get rid of them. So it points out in the Kabbalion that the principle of rhythm applies to the mental states of man. And it also points out that we can learn to use it rather than be used by it. So by becoming conscious of what's going on and becoming conscious of our natural mood rhythms and also our physical bodily rhythms like hormones and things like that, all the rhythms that go on in our mind and our body and our spirit, by being aware of these rhythms, we can learn to use them rather than being used by them, i.e. being swept up in them and then controlling our lives. So we can take a rhythm, let's say a bodily cycle. Let's say part of the month we're feeling a little bit more relaxed and tired, and another part of the month we're feeling a bit more energetic. So you could use the energetic part and transmute it into good works or outputting something or doing some exercise, and the more relaxed part, instead of fighting against that when you're feeling a bit more tired, you could use that for doing some reading and catching up on some more relaxing things that don't take too much effort. So that way we can amend our lives to use these natural rhythms and cycles. And also with our mental moods, let's say sometimes we're feeling happy and joyful. Great, we can experience doing some happy and joyful pastimes. If other times we're feeling angry or down or depressed, we can transmute that into maybe something creative or into some sports, like some contact sports or something. We might be quite good at it then. Or doing some cardio. You can transmute the different rhythms in our moods into different activities. So instead of being used by them and feeling down and resisting it, don't resist it anymore. Accept it, which will make it easier anyway, and then transmute it into something useful. It says as well about the principle of rhythm to do with mental states is that the swing of the pendulum occurred on the unconscious plane, and the conscious plane was not affected. So it helped raising the ego above the vibrations of the unconscious plane of mental activity. So it's saying that by becoming conscious of our own rhythms and cycles mentally and physically and raising it to the conscious level there rather than just happening to us, that's how we can work with it rather than against it. We can also take some comfort from the principle of rhythm as well, because sometimes we wonder, why do bad things happen to us? Why do things happen that we feel like we don't deserve? But here, the man who enjoys keenly is subject to keen suffering, while he who feels little pain is capable of feeling little joy. So, as I always say, if we've experienced much pain in our life, moving forward, we are able to better recognize great joy. We are better able to feel great joy because we know what the other is like. If we've never experienced great pain, when happy times come along, we don't appreciate them so much. So those rhythms, in a way, are a benefit to us. Plus, it augments our learning and experience, which contributes to creation, of course. Before one is able to enjoy a certain degree of pleasure, he must have swung as far proportionately toward the other pole of feeling. So again, another quote saying that in order to experience pleasure and joy, we get more out of that if we've experienced the opposite. So how else can we apply this to our lives? Well, by stabilizing. So if we're experiencing a long swing in one direction, like a lot of bad luck or a lot of sad feeling or a lot of things not going our way, and then we'll experience a swing in the other direction while the principle of rhythm compensates. So we can learn to stabilize that by becoming aware of what's going on and manifesting it better. Because if we're aware of those negative swings and how we're manifesting this kind of thing and then work on manifesting better, we can draw the swings together in order to prevent the negative ones from being so large. In addition, don't be so hard on yourself. By accepting and understanding the principle of rhythm, when things are going right and things are going wrong, we can understand it and not be so hard on the self and not take it so badly. And the same with things that are going on in reality. There will be disasters and there'll be great highs and times of joy. This is a natural thing. By accepting this, we can manifest better and, in a way, as it says, get more control over the principle of rhythm. Play it, if you will, because manifestation helps to stabilize these rhythms. Another thing about algorithms, these rhythms in reality, you can see them using astrology as well. Don't you think it's a bit funny how people born under a certain star sign are kind of similar and have similar traits? And some people believe in it, some don't. But I've noticed some real rhythms and cycles going on there and some real patterns. And this is because creation, when new humans are birthed, they're birthed with certain characteristics on purpose because it's part of the algorithm. Month on month, people are born with certain sort of basic characteristics on purpose. They're on an algorithm. Our personalities are on an algorithm. It doesn't mean we don't have free will, but we just have these certain traits sort of lightly placed upon us as part of the rhythmic cycles. So, rhythms do exist, cycles do exist, and you can observe them everywhere. I also did a video on biorhythms. That's another supposed type of biological, spiritual rhythm that's going on that you can take a look at. But whatever you take a look at, you can see these rhythms in reality and observe them with interest and have more understanding of why these things are happening and more acceptance, and then work with it. And about the self, rhythms on our own physical self and mental state as well. More understanding of that, becoming conscious of it and working with it without putting up all the resistance. Support this Spiritual Awakening YouTube channel on Patreon and receive weekly bonus videos. You can also choose to receive spiritual guidance via email or spiritual sessions. So let me and others know what you think about the principle of rhythm and your own rhythms in reality in the comments section. Supporting each other is great. And remember to click subscribe if you're not already a subscriber to receive regular spiritual inspiration on your journey through life. Like and share also, because we're raising the mass vibration together. So go now in love and peace.